Hey, Lord of the Rings fans, we are finally here. We have arrived at season 2, episode 1 of Voices of Arda. It has been a long time since we've actually put out an episode, and I'm so happy to be back, and I'm so happy to be with my co-host, KaliCosplay. What's up, Kali? What's going on?
Hey everyone, big smiles over here. I am so happy to be back with you, KnewBettaDoBetta. This is going to be great.
Yes, we're starting things off right this season. We're going to be bringing on one of the OGs of this podcasting game, somebody I look up to, somebody I love, somebody I admire. OG in the game. Absolute pleasure and honor to have them on our podcast. Kali, who do we have today? Episode 1, season 2 of Voices of Arda.
We have the one and the only Andie from Talkin with Friends.
Yeah.
Y'all are gassing me up too much.
Super gas. You know, we got to put super unleaded in there. What's up, Andie? What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good. You know, things have been wild over in the personal sphere, but on Talkin with Friends, everything's good. I have a bunch of episodes lined up that I'm really excited about. The Hobbit episodes we put out so far this season have been really great. It's just been such a lovely project, and it really just feels like, I mean, it started out as an excuse to just hang out with my friends, and I feel like that is still 100% true. It is just like good vibes and fun times over on the podcast. So thank you guys for having me on. It's always such a great time chatting with you both.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back. We've had you on before, and it's just a pleasure. And I want to say that it's so dope that not only does Kali co-host this podcast, she also co-hosts with Andie on Talkin with Friends. So clap it up for Kali.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what a wonderful resource, and just like somebody to have a lovely back and forth with, and you know, help navigate these wild and crazy podcasts we got going on.
I know I always say it, but I'll say it again. It is just the absolute pleasure of my life to be able to podcast with each of you. I mean, it's just, I'm the lucky one. I am so lucky.
No, we are the lucky ones to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll just be like,
Always.
no.
If you guys don't know, 50% of this podcast, maybe even 60%, is just me bigging up Kali, just giving her props and just giving her flowers because she deserves them. So shout out to you as always, man. So you know what? We are going to do things how we always do them. We're just going to just go off the cuff, and we're just going to start asking questions. We're just going to talk. We're talking with friends, Andie, and we're going to say, hey, man, for season 2, episode 1, let's just get into a conversation. So how is your podcast, and what are you into right now as far as talking points, seasons? Let us know what's going on with Talking with Friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question to ask first.
Oh shit.
It has to do with my newest obsession.
Okay.
You know, with summer being here and everything. So so my question to you is, who cleans the ocean?
I can't say that I
know. Wow.
This literally sounds
Ariel would be very disappointed in that.
Yeah.
That gets 2 thumbs down from me. That was I ain't rocking with it. Nah, that one is the mermaids. Oh,
I'm obsessed. The Little Mermaid was amazing. I don't know if either of you have seen it yet, but
I've seen it.
Really amazing.
I was literally supposed to go yesterday, but
what happened? Why didn't you go?
Well, I had someone cancel,
and it was sad. So yeah, I have to remake those plans because it is worth seeing, Andie.
I know. I knew as soon as they announced Halle Bailey as Ariel, I was like, finally, like, you know what I mean? Like, with so many, this has nothing to do with anything, but like, as soon as they started doing like the live action Disney movies, I felt like a lot of them have like fallen flat. They haven't really added that much to what's going on, and they haven't picked, I won't say I haven't seen every single one, but from the ones that I've seen, they haven't typically picked people that have the voices, the chops. I'm like, these are Broadway's as cartoons. Do you know what I mean? And so when they announced that Callie was gonna be Ariel, I was like, yeah, there we go.
Absolutely.
That's what we need.
Smart move.
Yeah.
So let's get off of that topic as fast as we can. Because we don't want to even segue off that terrible joke. Yeah, so I was asking you, how's your podcast going? Like, what are you into now? I know you're talking about The Hobbit as of right now, as opposed to Lord of the Rings.
Right. So first season last year, it took up pretty much all of last year. And we went through Lord of the Rings kind of chapter by chapter, scene by scene, comparing it to Peter Jackson's extended edition of Lord of the Rings, of course. And so we're doing the exact same thing with The Hobbit. And little different we just started. I haven't released all these episodes, but Callie and I have made it to did we finish the second movie?
We are just at the end of it.
You're end of the second movie. I think I read through the second movie. We've only we released like a handful of episodes for we're still like in the first movie as far as releasing. Sorry. But it's definitely a different animal in comparison to what I was doing with Lord of the Rings. I mean, that's just like classic movies at this point, like the way they were made when they came out, how they had chose to adapt the books, the direction that they went with it. It was one of those things where I pretty much knew where the things were before I even started, like, oh yeah, I really want to talk about that difference. And, things would come up as we were reading together that I was like, oh wow, like those differences are so different when you're doing it back to back like we are, rather than just, you have your movie marathon, you kind of enjoy it all for what it is. And so we were able to just kind of like dive into it a little bit deeper. We are doing the same thing with The Hobbit, and I'm not gonna lie, it's been more of a struggle. And
why is that?
Why is that? Okay, so The
Hobbit is terrible.
Andy's trying to be very kind right now.
I was trying to be you ain't okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing is that what has been really interesting from some of our guests is that they have read The Hobbit in a different order than what I did, and at a different points and various different points of their lives than what I did, and I think what Callie did as well. So we've also seen how a lot of it, how the entry point and how that kind of colors the way that you see Peter's Hobbit movies. And so when I read The Hobbit, and I was like the perfect age, I think, for it, I was like 10 when I read The Hobbit, and it just such a wonderful way, I think, to introduce someone to Middle Earth, and then it naturally flows into Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have gone backwards, like started with Lord of the Rings and gone back, and so then like later like a teenager or even older.
I've never suggest that.
Yeah, and I'm like that's interesting, but I think that especially like when you're younger, but particularly like reading The Hobbit first, it has such a, like, I won't say that Lord of the Rings isn't whimsical. I think it just has like a touch more whimsy. There's a little bit more hijinks.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean?
More hijinks, more fun.
Yeah.
And it's you don't take it as seriously.
Yeah, and you see like a different side of, Bilbo, of course, he's much younger, but also Gandalf he's much more of like a goofy guy. Like he is so much. I mean, he is sassy.
He's not as stressed. Like even as they say in the in the Fellowship of the Ring, when Frodo sees him again, he's like, he seems so much older and careworn, and that's true. Like now, the weight of the world is on his shoulders, whereas before it's like, man, if we get this done, cool, you know what I mean? But it ain't the end of the world if it doesn't. We'll figure it out. I'm like, yeah, let's get there. We'll be fine. This
like
Lord of the Rings is like, yo, I'm gonna die if we don't do this, bro. Like this is crazy.
from the very beginning, the motivation is very different, especially for Gandalf, where he's like, I think this will be good for you. And then he's like, we're gonna go. I got your pocket handkerchiefs, don't worry. He's very silly in that kind of way. And like the way, like the whole scene with Beorn where like introducing the dwarves, it has such a different flavor and a different kind of like cleverness to it. And then, Lord of the Rings obviously gets really serious. And so then when we come to Peter Jackson's The Hobbit movies, they are trying to be a lot of things at once. And
at one time.
I think that there are some, we've had some good moments, and we're having fun with it as we go, because like, I mean, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't worth the time, to talk about things. And we kind of always put it in terms of like movie first. Like if you never read the books, this is what I really think you would have liked about this part in the book, or like this is what I think you missed that would have been cool. And the things that we do like about the movies as we go. But I think that in it like whatever happened in producing those movies, it's a little bit of a mess, and
got away from it.
Yeah, it really did. And I think it's even more frustrating because, and I understand that when it's not frustrating for people, like if that was your intro to Middle Earth and it's just, and you
let me just say that. Let me, I don't mean to interject, but let me just say that. I'm very harsh on the Hobbit movies. But it's because I love the Hobbit so much, and I know how that can come across. And we don't want to be that way with people. This is just my opinion. I absolutely applaud if you love the Hobbit movies, and I love that for you and everything like that. And I'm joking in the sense of like, being so heavy on it. That's just how I personally feel. But if it's that's how you got in the Middle Earth, that's how you got in the Middle Earth. I applaud you. If you like it, you love it. You know what I'm saying? It's awesome. That's great. So it's no knock against anybody that actually likes the movies or thinks they're great. I think that's great. And I think that you're great. And I appreciate it. And I love that you're into Tolkien's works, no matter how you get into them. It's just a personal thing I have because it's such a this is my introduction into the Lord of the Rings. And I fell in love with it from the writing style, from the simplicity of the story, how it flowed, how there's a beginning, a middle, an end, a very real beginning, middle, and end. The character development is absolutely so amazing. Great action scenes, great comedy scenes. Like it has a bit of everything. This is why it's my favorite out of all of them. I always say that The Hobbit is my favorite for the completeness of the story from A to Z. The Lord of the Rings is like the standard masterpiece, and the Silmarillion is the piece de resistance. It is like for the deep lore lovers like me, like it is everything. But the way that The Hobbit is just presented is just the easiest to digest. It is, full-fledged.
I mean, it soothes my anxiety like from page one. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can.
The poems, it's like lighthearted fun. Yeah, it's like awesome. So fun. Absolutely. Yeah.
So fun. And I think that is like when and it's like not just the way that they change the story, I think is frustrating, but I think that we saw so much greatness in effects, in writing and direction from Lord of the Rings, and I really do think that was something that like we're never going to see something quite like that ever again. So it's like I think that I can't really get over like my initial hype for those movies. Like, do you remember when The Hobbit was coming out and Peter was even posting like video diaries on his Facebook page? Like we were getting to see stuff as, he was making it, and, news was coming out like, oh, it's going to be 3 movies. And I was like, you know what? They could totally make that work depending on how they embed like some stuff from the appendices, and other people like, oh, it's such a cash grab. And I was like, when I tell you I was such like a staunch defender of like extending these movies, and then they came out and I was
oh no.
And I was like, and like the first movie, like first time I watched it, I was still like on board, you know what I mean? And
it's still like, okay.
Yeah, possible. there were some things where like, there's just some really, really well done scenes in unexpected journey or whatever.
Yeah, we
and
got through that one pretty well, I would say.
that
I
one
think
was
we
not
were,
bad.
like, satisfied. I think we like gave that one pretty good
But
marks.
they quickly get out of control in Desolation. They
Yeah.
really get out of control.
Yeah. And so it just became like, I don't know. I got sadder as they came out. You know what I mean? And it was like, it was such a, it felt like a blow. Like, I was like, I defended you, Peter. And I was telling everybody that you can do this. And I mean, I still think it could have been possible, but the way that they could not decide on the tone of these movies, I think is really what hurt them the most. And also the fact, and if you could have given more scenes back to Bilbo rather than all this like dwarf orc shit, then I think I would have been much happier.
Yeah. A lot of it doesn't even make sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
The orcs are running around in the daytime. Then the goblins, even though orcs and goblins are the same thing, are so far removed from the orcs that are chasing them. It's like, what? This is completely different. It deviates from the book in a certain way where it's like, yo, those are big goblins in Goblin Town. Those like are the big goblins. They says that in the book, and now you have them as these like little, I don't even know what you would call those things. Like,
I don't know. They look like balls of flesh.
Yeah, they are tiny, and it's like
they look like boogers. They're so squishy.
Yeah, they're like gremlins. They're more like gremlins than goblins.
Yeah, like naked gremlins. Yeah, and I think that was one of like my favorite chapters. You know, like the way that Tolkien talks about the goblins in that chapter is so interesting, and we don't really get any of that. Like we learn about them and like what they're interested in, and we don't really get any of that in the movie, and it just feels like such a bummer because you had the opportunity to really give us all of it. Why not? You've got the time, you know. So that's sad. I'm not really looking forward to the Battle of Five Armies, but
yeah, so I hear you. I understand. But regardless of that, I just want to applaud you because you guys do an excellent job at talking about it and bringing up emotions and scenes and recognizing things from book to movie to book that most people don't think about. And I always applaud your show for doing that and finding those little nuances that are in the writing and in the filming and bringing them to light. I really think that you do a great job at that. So shout out to you, man, because that is awesome. And I love watching your podcast. So keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to get through this because then I want to do the animated ones. And
I can't.
You're on my list. You're on my list.
I need to be there.
Yeah, you're gonna be there. You don't have a choice.
For those that don't know, I'm a little upset with Andie, and she knows why. I'm very upset with her. In fact, I'm very upset with her. This lady moves and does not say anything to me. I'm not gonna say
it's because I'm sad about it, KnewBetta, and I didn't want to deal with the reality. Okay, and I was like,
a lot of
if I don't say anything, did I move?
And then
do you know what I mean?
We are from the same state, so we're not really that far from each other. I could go visit her, and I have a couple times, and it was awesome. And I love spending time with Andie. It's just a great conversation, just awesome. So then I'm like, hey, Andie, yeah, I could. She's like, I don't live there anymore. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
how kind of friend is this?
I know,
we were in another recording, and someone was like, "Look at all the New York people here," and then Andie looked down.
Well, Pete was like,
"Excuse me, I no longer live there. I'm wherever you live. I don't even count any other states."
I know. It's fair.
It's craziness.
No, I agree. I don't count it either.
But me and Andie did get to go to. In the wintertime, we did get to go to the orchestra Fellowship of the Ring, where the live orchestra. It was awesome. It was awesome. Amazing. We were cracking up. We were like reciting the movie. She's like, "You're doing it again." It was hilarious.
It was so good to like actually watch the movie with you and like all in one piece like that. But also with, I mean, I love that soundtrack so fucking much, and then to hear it live like that, it was just like a whole other level. And obviously, like when Two Towers comes back, I'm there. I am there.
We're there. We're gonna make it happen.
We're gonna make it happen. There,
So,
like I've already
Callie,
bought Comic-Con tickets and stuff. Like
I know I gotta get mine.
Yeah.
So Callie, now that your country has smoked up the world.
Sorry, everybody. Obligatory. Sorry.
It was definitely Callie. She was definitely involved. I don't know how.
Callie was smoking a cigarette, threw it out the window, and now New York, we can't breathe.
Yeah,
now we can't breathe out here.
This has been an interesting past week for those of you listening. Don't know if you're on sort of the eastern seaboard at all or not, but for those of you who are, you will have noticed that your skies were noticeably more orange a little bit last week, and so Canada
was like having the apocalypse outside.
Wildfire.
I mean,
somebody made a video and they were like, one does not simply walk into Mordor, and they showed the sky. It was like the very air that you breathe is a poisonous fume. Yo, I was like, yo, this shit is hitting right now. It's hitting. That's fire. That's fire. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Callie in Canada. You know what I'm saying? So Callie, how have you been? It's been a while since we've heard from you and me, of course, but we want to know, how have you been? How has it been working with Andie? Is she a nuisance? Is she really that much of a problem? Now, like, let us know how your experience working on Talking with Friends is.
Spill the tea. And also, like, what's the deal with KnewBetta? Like,
I'm the worst. She's like, he's always rescheduling. It's terrible.
Callie's the only one that knows the realities behind both of our podcasts.
This is true.
She's like, I'm the fly on the wall.
Honestly, I mean, like I said, it's a pleasure, obviously, working with both of you. Both of the podcasts have a very different sort of flavor, and how I prepare for them is very different. Like, for this one, you know, I prepare my joke, and I prepare my, you know, self-care tips. But mostly it's about booking the guest and then having more general topics of discussion, whereas with Talking with Friends, it's very organized around the actual book and around the actual movie. Although right now I'm a little lost because the chapter I just read is not in the movie at all. So I feel like Andie and I will have to discuss that after this. So it's different. Yeah. Before Talking with Friends, I have my, you know, hour or whatever set aside. I do my reading, and then immediately I watch, you know, the corresponding parts of the movie, and then I make my notes, and that's how I prepare. It's kind of like a studying sort of thing. It's very different, and going into Talking with Friends, like, we pretty much know we're going to talk about how things happen chronologically. So that's sort of all planned, and it's sort of nice. And I
really want to, like, when we're planning it, because we obviously talk about the book, and especially this season, I kind of am like, all right, that's enough about the movie. Let's talk about what we missed in the chapter. Rather than, like, I don't know, but I still try to ground it, like, start, like, here's where we left off last time, what was going on. And then here's where they kind of start diverging and all of that. So, yeah, it's definitely and another thing that I had to really figure out in season 1, because I feel like not the first episode, that was pretty like an intro episode, it wasn't like a chapter, but then, like, the first real episode of, like, getting into the meat of things, I realized that, like, and that was when Anna was still on the podcast, and I was just definitely overwhelming her with information, especially because of the prologue going into, and I'm like, okay, so this is happening, but that's not in the chapter yet, and, you know, like, just going off about, like, the history of Middle Earth stuff, and I was like, started talking about Melkor, but I'm like, I don't even know if Anna really needs this, and it was just a whole thing, and I was like, okay, here's what I need to do. I need to, you know, tailor this, and really just, because we know Corey Olsen, Tolkien professor, and he literally does like line by line, like everything that's happening in the books, and it's like that already exists. I don't need to tell you every single change that happened. So I started to just be like, okay, what are like the 3-4 things that really stood out to me during either this chapter or, you know, this segment of the movie, so that I'm not, because I could obviously talk about it much longer than an hour and a half, if I would, and I will, but like as far as like trying to create an experience for people, I'm like, all right, no, don't do it, Andie.
Don't do it. Don't fall into the trap.
Right,
But
just
that's
rein
awesome.
myself
So yeah,
in.
I understand the different preparations.
I suppose that is some flavor that you and your, you know, our listeners aren't getting, is that you don't have to like super explain things to me, because I already do. But that was always a really fun part of listening to you and Anna. It was just like, you know, hearing things for the first time almost, right? Or like hearing them with someone for the first time. That was a fun flavor that that was happening with the Tolkien with Friends. But now we just have a different one. And sometimes when we have our guests, you know, they
are just strictly only movie fans, and so we get to do that.
So we get to like surprise them for the first time. I love doing that with people. Like the
different types of Tolkien fans are always an interesting part of your podcast. You know, the ones that know, the ones that don't know, always interesting. And it's really cool. We have done a movie watch, and that'll be coming out soon, with the Fellowship of the Ring. And it's with Tolkien experts, as opposed to, you know, it's a reaction to the Fellowship of the Ring, as opposed to people who've never seen it. So we're going to put in the insight that people don't know. So when people watch the reaction, they're going to be getting the tidbits of what they don't know. And I think that's really cool. And then we have a couple of Star Wars people in there, so they know, but then they don't know some things, and they're like, oh shit, okay. And it's really cool. I think it makes up for a new type of reaction video, as opposed to, I've never seen this, you know, and they're going in and they're being a genuine reaction to the movie, but a lot of times they don't know what the hell's happening. And that can kind of throw them a little bit. You know, they're like, oh, okay, I'm trying to figure stuff out. So when they watch this reaction video, they'll be like, you know what? Now I get why that was there, because reading the comments and trying to figure all that stuff out afterwards is a bitch.
I know. I mean, it's very much like a tough spot to be in, as far like just watching them and then having questions, but then like, I don't know, you can get so much information from all different points and like interpretations of things. And so yeah, that was really fun. I can't wait for that to come out. One thing that's also been interesting since I started doing this is people will start coming up to me, or like people will find out that I do it, and then they'll be like, oh, I really like Lord of the Rings, but you know, I've only ever watched the movies. Or I had one of my friends, she was like, oh, I'm a fake fan, I haven't read the books. And I was like, no, that's not how this works. So I was like,
that's how it works.
If you enjoyed it, you know, like, you're a fan, you know, and there's levels, you know, and so it's like, we're just all at different points in the journey, but I'm, you know what I mean? So like, it's all super valid. And I think that that's like one of like the guiding principles of Talking with Friends, is that it's just like, you know, whatever point you're on, we're with you.
And I think that's a good space to interject that. Let's say you are a fan and you want to become like a super fan and a super nerd like us, and like know that all the ins and outs and nooks and crannies. I teach Lord of the Rings classes. I teach class on the Silmarillion. I am at the moment teaching a class on the Realm of Arnor, and you can sign up for those classes at Signum University. So you go to Signum University online. You can literally sign up for those classes and just look for KnewBettaDoBetta's course on. Right now, I'm teaching the Realm of Arnor, but I will again in August be picking up the class on the Silmarillion, and I'm redoing that. It was a high demand, so they want me to do it again, and I'm really appreciative for all the people who take the class, and the positive feedback has been amazing. And thank you guys so much for all the love. I give you a overall synopsis of the entire Silmarillion in 8 courses, and it is like understandable, but still deep. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I think that's the way you know, a lot of people can digest it as opposed to reading a book, because it can get you lost. It can get you lost.
Yeah. One of the things that I found with like my personal Silmarillion journey is that like I had to keep kind of if you're not really ready for a complete narrative shift, it's hard to like get your teeth into, you know what I mean? Like if you're really expecting what you've had with Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, particularly Lord of the Rings, and you're like, okay, more of this type, it's like not quite.
Not quite.
It's really more.
Here's an hour and a half of places and
Yeah.
names that
It's
you
really,
don't know.
it gets textbooky, you know, and I think that is absolutely needed sometimes, but I think that if you're not in the right headspace for it, it can be really tough. And one thing that really helped me was like in high school, I, you know, was doing a lot of research about Tolkien, and I had these like reference books and I was kind of learning through those, just kind of giving broad strokes of what happens in the Silmarillion. So then when I finally did read through all of it, I had an expectation of like, okay, I need to get to Feanor, I need to get to, you know, Numenor, and without, rather than just being like, where is this even going? Because it's like it'll stop and give you names for a while or describe the map for a while, and then you're like,
it'll bounce around.
Yeah. So
like, wait, where are we now?
Yeah.
But once you get it, man, it's so fulfilling.
Yeah.
That's the thing with me. I'm like, it's so fulfilling to get it, man. It is awesome. So right now I'm teaching a class on the realm of Arda, and I think that's awesome because a lot of people don't know about the realm, and I'm just excited. So at 6 o'clock, I'll be teaching that class. Callie, if you want to join in, you're more than welcome to come take a peek. Andie, if you're not too busy, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So.
Yeah, no, I love joining your classes, man. The students are like really into it. They have really entertaining either questions or side discussions. Is that distracting for you?
No. So this is a discussion-based course, this one. In the Silmarillion, I encourage questions, but more so maybe like after when I was done, or like, you know, if they really needed something answered, yes. But I have to get through that material, which is heavy and thick. Yeah. So I'm like, yes, but I don't have time to fully, but yes, I do. I always encourage questions. I live for those. But this is a discussion-based class, and the history of Arnor is not overwhelmingly so long and crazy to where I needed the full space to take it up. As a lot of it can be discussion-based, and we can go over, hey, this happened. Hey, why did this happen? Why is this important? What are the ramifications of that now, as it pertains to the third age and fourth age, and things like that. So that's how I'm driving this class, with discussion based. So I'm like, interrupt me anytime. I love that. Silmarillion, not so much, but I encourage you to do it if you have a real question. Absolutely. I want you to not be confused, and it's important. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said, hey, interrupt me. But I do need to get through that material because it is tough.
It's a lot
to do. It's a lot. And
it's a lot of years.
Oh my goodness. I'm like I have to make it through that entire book in the amount of classes. I think I do 8 classes, and it's like, sheesh.
Yeah,
crazy.
But you do it though. Like you get on it, you get after it.
Very good.
Get after it, yo. Yeah. You know, me and Callie don't be playing, son. We be like, yo, we on top.
So good. So good.
Yeah, so
that is awesome. So yeah, so if you're listening and you are part of KnewBetta's Signum University classes, please just bring your questions and your discussion, and that is all what makes, you know, class really enjoyable and really fun.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know, and thank you guys for you know, choosing to take my class and being a part of it. Appreciate you.
So I never
so awesome.
Like, I never thought to use Tolkien in any of my, like, during my academic career, and that is like the biggest regret of my life now. I'm thinking back.
Yeah.
I
low key have looked at their Tolkien certificate at Signum University, and it's like $600 or something, and I'm like, you know what? I just might. I don't know if I'm, you know what I mean? It just sounds like fun, and it's what's the nerdiest part is that like obviously we dedicate a certain amount of time to this anyway. And then I'm like, but I want to be certified.
That certification is real, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But just the fact that they acknowledge my I don't know what you want to call it, level of expertise. If
hell yeah.
I'm so grateful that I'm like, wow, man.
It's legit. I mean, you are on par with their professors. Like you and Corey.
I appreciate it because I'm just like, man,
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's my guy, yo. Me and Corey be having the best conversations, man. Shout out to Corey
watching
Olsen,
you two
man.
talk is like the best. It is literally the best because I feel like you see things differently than he does, but you both have such an immense amount of knowledge, but like so you're both like whoa, and I'm like
we feed off each other really well. I gotta hit him up. I haven't talked to him in a little bit.
You do.
But I definitely gotta hit him up. I talked to him in the PPP podcast. We had a quick
nice
back and forth real quick. So, and I was lucky enough to be on that as well. So
that's so
I'm looking forward to things.
Yeah, we should talk about that. Actually, your guest appearances on.
Yeah, how's that been going?
Oh man, that was awesome. I thank you, Alan Sister. I absolutely loved being on the podcast. This format is really like tight, neat, and like really easy to follow along with. And we had such great readings and such great conversation. And I still get hit up and I'm like, people are like, oh man, that was so awesome. You should be a guest more often. I'm like, hey man, anytime, because that was really fun to be on that podcast. And I love the way he goes through it. His format is awesome. He shouts out all his patrons. He always has somebody interesting to talk to on there. So we got to talk to, of course, the Tolkien professor. And then we got to actually talk to the author, not the author, but the editor of The Fall of Numenor.
That's so
Ryan
sick.
Sibley himself. And we got to interview him, and he's awesome. And it was great conversation. I was like, man, this is like heaven, man. This is like living a dream right here. So that was awesome. And then the dream came crashing down when the Golem game came out because it was so terrible. Can we talk about that for a second?
Oh no, I suppose we should talk about that.
One of the peaks are talking with friends, the Prince and Pony podcast, you know what I'm saying? Just in general, just being able to podcast with Kali. Awesome. These things are like heaven. And then we get the Golem game and I'm so excited and I'm like, yeah. And it did not live up to the hype. It did not live up to the hype. And a lot of people had something to say beforehand, but I'm always a positive person to something that I've never seen. Like, I'm looking forward. I love talking content. So I'm not going to berate it before, I get it. I'm going to be like, yo, I can see them doing that. I can see.
And it's like, we want more. Like, we don't want to discourage you from making it because like we're desperate over here. Like there's been like a content desert for decades or whatever. And so I'm excited that they're making stuff like this, but then it's like, I don't know what happened.
Let me say this because I said this in my review, but maybe not everybody saw my review. I absolutely love the lore aspect of the game. The lore aspect and the story were actually phenomenal. It was dope. Like were on the right track on that part. It was the execution of the gameplay itself that was terrible, man. I tell you, I was very disappointed. It was boring. It was like so repetitive. So nonsensical, the decisions you made. It just, I'm not saying Golem should be running around killing everybody and having all these sword fights or nothing like that.
Right.
But he should be interacting and having some kind of, battles and getting away from hiding but just a lot of that. It would have filled out, like some kind of combat system where you're not beating and winning these great battles because you're a Golem, but you're getting into the discourse with these characters and either sneaking up and silently getting them or hiding from them successfully to a point where it fulfills the gaps in the game and you're not just doing miscellaneous tasks that have nothing to do with anything. It was just a letdown. And then the graphics were not up to par as I thought they were. Did anybody see me glitch out when I was playing it online? I glitched out and I was skywalking on nothing. And it was the most hilarious thing. And this happened for about half an hour. I was trying to get this board to fill out. And that finally worked. And everybody was like looking. People were like, oh, that's all I need to see. Click. And it's like, hey, I
Yeah.
can't make this shit up, man. I can't make it
Yeah.
up, bro. So they just need to get it together. Hopefully they add some content. I know they were saying they were talking about updates. They sent out an apology. Hey man, I appreciate you acknowledging that it needs work, but let's get it together.
Yeah, it's also like doubly disappointing when they had a release date. I think it was like really close to the Rings of Power release date, and then they were like, nope, we still
It
need
was
to
the
work
same
on
day.
it. Yeah, and it's like, and then
It was like the same day or one
they
day apart.
realized that they needed to have to continue to work on it, which good. But then it's like, okay, so what happened? Like, what were you guys doing?
What were you doing?
Yeah, it's strange, like that they were like, okay, let's release this then, and it's like, well, I don't know.
You sure about that? You sure
Yeah,
about that?
maybe they just needed to release like a beta and be like, this
They
is
should
just
have done something. That's what they should have done.
Mm.
But we do have some a glimmer of light coming through the clouds. We are getting really good feedback from the film festival about, I can't pronounce the name of the film festival, something with an A.
Oh, I don't
In France, I think it was. I'm not 100% sure. So forgive me if I'm giving this information, but I know there was a film festival and it showed a bit of the War of the Rohirrim. Not the entire film, but it showed footage from it, and they are getting really good. I know they showed the opening part and some other little parts, and they said it's really good. It's really on par with, which this I think is going to cause a little discourse, but whatever. Really on par with the Lord of the Rings movies as far as like it goes back and forth with that. And I was like, but now we're kind of, only thing about that is it's kind of like giving people license to say, see, Lord of the Rings is the only way. This is the only way. That movie is the only way to interpret something, and it's not. It's not. So we got to get out of that mindset. But I'm very excited for the War of the Rohirrim right now. I'm glad that it's getting good positive reviews. That is awesome. Some good, actual, like wonderful animation and story on that side of media. It would be super welcome. So then there could be more in the future from that type of animation, and we could fill out stories that we aren't able to do live action necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that there's really good that they're exploring more animation with Lord of the Rings. I think that, with the way that anime has grown since the original movies, and the way that Guillermo del Toro, even with like Pinocchio, and like how animation can tell serious stories and not be necessarily for children. I think that, I mean, it's like it's like very much art. Not that like all film is art, but like animation, it has like it's this other version of that. It's, like it can be very artistic and interesting in that, in its own way, like that. And so I'm really excited. I know that we had like Ralph Bakshi and Rankin and Bass doing animation decades ago. At this, I'm like, bring the animation back to Middle Earth. I think it's totally suited for it, with the way that we have all these descriptions of landscaping, and I don't know. I just think it's like the magic. I feel like it's very suited to Middle Earth to have more animation. So I'm really excited for War of the Rohirrim. I hope that they knock it out of the park. It's very interesting with like the Return to Moria game, having John Rhys Davies do the trailer, and then I know Miranda Otto, who played Éowyn, she's going to be narrating. She's like coming back as Éowyn in some capacity.
She's coming back, I think, not as Éowyn, but I think she's coming back as Helm's daughter, who is narrating.
Okay.
Okay. That's interesting.
So her name is Hera, and this is an unnamed character because it says his sons, and then it has a named daughter, and I think they just kind of freelanced that, and they were like, okay, that, which is all right. Now, if you like that, then just get over the Rings of Power back. Just saying, they can't have it both ways. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Gotta be able to riff,
which is fine. Yeah, so people like what they want to like, and then they hate what they want to hate, but they do the same things. The two things are making up characters, and they're giving you something, filling in the gap. So understand that's what they have to do for the Rings of Power as well. And I'm only advocating for it because I think that it has the potential to be a really, really good show if you guys let it be, and let it grow, and let it like naturally progress, and learn from the first season, and build on the parts that needed work, and then perfect the parts that were already great. I think that it could be one of the greatest shows of all time. We just have to let it be that. We can't with all the I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Even though there's things about it I don't like, and I voice my opinion on those things. Let's try to get something that we all can get something from Tolkien and out of it something good. And if we have discourse about it, or let's say something we don't like, we can voice our opinions, but let's do it respectfully. You know what I'm saying? We all love it. Everything doesn't have to turn to, oh, I hate. Like I don't like parts about it. That's cool. But we don't have to be so nasty. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
we could
absolutely
use our inside voices.
It's also like exhausting to be that angry about a TV show. Like, I just have never had that much energy in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm that's one thing. I feel like I need to do a rewatch of Rings of Power personally. I just I feel like when it was coming out, it almost felt like, and I wasn't even like making a ton of videos about it, but there was something about like feeling the need to watch it as soon as possible, so that like Twitter, because my Twitter just like exploded as soon as it came out. You know what I mean? It almost felt like work in a way, to like, because we did some lives about it, and but I didn't really make like a lot of videos or anything, but like it did feel like on the job a little bit watching that show. And so now that like everything is kind of chilled out, it's not releasing right now, like I kind of want to go back and rewatch it, just think about it again. But I don't know, I think that depending, I feel like it's all up in the air. I mean, there's still hope for it, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely things that were really cool, things that maybe raised an eyebrow or two, but nothing like, I don't know, like,
except for the Mithra thing, that was out of pocket.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's some things that I'm like, you got to resolve this ASAP, because I'm hella
you got to figure this out. This
Yeah.
is not.
Back
So I'm really interested to see what they do in season 2. I think that we still have reasons to be very hopeful and excited about the show. I mean, the cast alone is like stunning. So
yeah,
they're very good at what they're doing. So yeah.
Awesome.
It'll be great.
So I think it's gonna be fine. I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Mines of Moria. What are your thoughts on Mines of Moria?
I think, it looks fun. It looks cute. I'm interested, and we've really only gotten like some glimpses. I'm very intrigued by. I think they knew they were going to get us with John Rhys Davies voicing the trailer.
They got us.
They knew what they was doing.
Yeah.
Like, you motherfuckers.
And it was interesting learning about the time frame that they're working in for that. It's like post War of the Ring, which I don't think I realized when they first announced that they were doing this game. So I think that that's kind of compelling as far as like some new storytelling that they could potentially do there via the video game. But you're able to like play with your friends in this one, right? Like
you are.
So I love that. I think that's great. I think that's
rebuild
really cool.
Khazad-dûm. Like, I think it's gonna be really cool. I think it's gonna be fun. I don't think the expectation is gonna be as high as a game like Gollum, because it's not that type of game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think this is meant to be like, oh, have a resolution where like it's like, okay, we're building this and we're having fun, we're living and type of thing like that.
Yeah.
Where it's not as like finite as, oh, it needs to come to a conclusion and I need to be able to do all these things. Like, nah, like this one is like have fun, build, build the best, kingdom you can do type of thing. This is my thought process or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it has potential. I think it's hopefully.
That sounds like my speed more so than the Gollum one did. Like I never assumed that I would be able to play the Gollum
was nobody's speed.
Although it was like follow the frail man. I was like, I'm pretty sure I could do this. But
did you see Lee playing the game? She was like, oh, no. Damn, no. I told you, Lee. I told you. Like, it's so crazy. You know what's made me so mad about the game? I ended up getting a key for the game. Right? Because they were like, oh, I was like, fill out this if you want to get the. I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Lord of the Rings guy. I want to get this key. Play this game. The key came so late that I didn't think I was going to get one, even though I was approved. That I said, damn, I don't want to be a loser and not play this game on the first day. And I bought the fucking game. and they gave me the key an hour after I bought the game. And then it was like I wasted the money on the game, and it was terrible. And I felt like slapping myself because I could have played it for free and been disappointed for free. But now I was disappointed for a fee.
And that hurts. That stings.
It hurt. It hurt my wallet and it hurt my feelings. So I'm extra mad at Gollum. And I'm sticking up for Gollum. I'm still going to stick up for it because there is a story there. Absolutely. People are like, why Gollum? Absolutely, this story. He's very well traveled. He does a lot. A lot of people don't know that. So I made a video about it. Like, if you want to know what Gollum does, we go through that in the video. And it makes sense to make a Gollum game. Maybe not a super combat game, but he does a lot. Well, a lot more than other people that you want them games from. Like, Legolas doesn't do anything compared to how Gollum does it as far as traveling and doing all these things. And Gimli, they're just in a lonely mountain in Mirkwood. They're not doing anything. The only other people, Aragorn and Gandalf, are the only people that are as traveled as Gollum and obviously do more than Gollum. But the hobbits ain't doing shit. The hobbits are getting fat, eating cake. They're just sitting at home. You know what I mean? So
I'd play that game.
People just say
I play that game though.
See, there's a game for everybody.
Eating cake.
People just like to get mad about stuff, and they shout out things, and it's a lot of the things they shout out they don't even know about. It doesn't make sense. So I mean, it is what it is. But
I know. I think it's sad because it's like Gollum is one of those characters where I think that there's so many fans that like fundamentally misunderstand him, and. Like, I feel like I'm always on a Gollum defense train when someone's like, I hate Gollum. I'm like, do we hate Gollum?
Do we hate Gollum?
Like, a little strong. So it's kind of a bummer that it's like, he got to be the center of this story and they didn't quite deliver on it. So maybe we're still in our misunderstanding of Gollum era. But one day we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
So these are the things that we're looking forward to, and we can't wait for them to come out. War of the Rohirrim, Mines of Moria. Looking forward to more Talking with Friends, and I'm definitely looking forward to completing this season and getting out great content. We have some great interviews coming up and some special guests. So in season 2, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be really exciting. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be really fun, and I think we're going to come into our own. And also, my YouTube channel got blocked. Make sure you follow me, KnewBettaDoBetta on YouTube, because I don't know what's going on. I had to make another one. This is the 3rd one, but make sure you follow Voices of Arda. Make sure you follow KnewBettaDoBetta on YouTube, and also obviously the other places where we podcast, and Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. You know what I'm saying? So please do that. I'm about to get ready to get out of here because I do have to teach class, so I got to prepare for that. Right. And
that's coming up.
I don't mean I can talk to Andie. I can talk to you forever.
Yeah, you kind of have to cut us off.
Gotta cut it off a little bit. But I know Callie always has some wonderful advice for us with her wonderful tidbits. So let's end up with that.
All right. So before we go, we're just going to talk about 5 ways the sun impacts your mental and physical health. So number 1, it increases vitamin D, which reduces inflammation and regulates cell growth. It's very hard to get enough vitamin D from food sources alone, but it only takes 5 to 15 minutes of sunlight a few times a week to notice a difference. Number 2, you will have stronger bones. Calcium intake is crucial for bone health, but getting enough sun also helps your body absorb that calcium. Number 3 is improved mood. The availability of sunshine has more impact on mood than rainfall, temperature, or any other environmental factor, and that includes wildfire smokes. Sorry. Too soon? All right.
Oh, I got you threw that in there.
Number 4, you'll get better sleep. So serotonin soaks up from the sun's rays, and this serotonin works in tandem with melatonin, which is a chemical in your brain that lulls you into slumber, and one that the sun actually also helps your body produce. And last one, number 5, is you can lower your blood pressure. So when the sunlight hits your skin, your body releases something called nitric oxide into your blood, a compound which brings down blood pressure and improves heart health. And of course, all of this, if you're going to be in the sun, make sure you wear your SPF protection.
I got mine. Oh.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a good reminder. And also, like, sun is good, and I absolutely attest to the lifting of the mood. I feel like as soon as spring rolls around and I'm like, yes, like the seasonal depression, get away.
Yeah.
But one thing that I always found really interesting is how, like, it's really not, I mean, you see people like thinking that they need to really be out in the sun a ton. Your skin doesn't like that. So like just noting the like 5 to 15 minutes every, in the daytime, I think is key there as well. Protect yourself, people. Protect yourself.
Always coming with the great self-care tips. So yes, protect yourself and make sure you absolutely 100% follow Andie, and you follow Kali, and you make sure you go and you listen to Talking with Friends. Andie, it has been a pleasure as always. Always great conversation. Always good to be in your presence. Thank you very much for being on our podcast and being our first guest, season 2. Like, that shows how important you are. Shows your air is just immaculate.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It is always a blast. I will always say yes. Wherever you need me, I'm there. You guys are the best. So thanks so much. And I hope to see you soon on Talking with Friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to get out of here, guys. Thank you for listening in, and, stay tuned. We'll be back with episode 2 before you know it. All right. Peace and love.
Bye.